this Q Jam Tracks video you will learn all about the secret of the keys. After this video, the whole concept of keys will be absolutely crystal clear for you. You can start to benefit from the newly gained knowledge. So maybe you've heard of keys and maybe you know a thing or two about them. Maybe you've heard that a certain song is in C major or A minor, but what does it really mean? And how can you benefit from the understanding of this concept? So, let's unravel the secret of the key. First, we're going to look at the C major scale, because the notes of the C major scale form the most common and most basic scale, C major. On a piano, you can play the C major scale by playing all the white keys on the keyboard. So the notes of the C major scale form the C major key. Maybe we could describe a key best as an organized collection of notes that sound well together in musical sense and which is the foundation of a musical piece. Maybe we could say that a key is not only the scale but also the melody and chords which you can extract from that scale. And that all together is the key. For instance, the key of C major. So if you are living in the western part of the world, the C major scale and any major scale will sound very familiar to you. And that's because how the scale is built. And because you heard it so many times in your childhood, in children's songs, and nowadays in rock music or pop music or whatever you listen to. The organization of whole steps and half step intervals determines how a scale sounds. How those intervals are organized in a major scale, we can clearly see when we play a scale on one string. And it gets really visible. As you can see, there is a specific order in whole and half step intervals. And it's precisely that order that determines the sound of a scale. So you can imagine that every major scale should have the same fingerprint, the same definition. So the same order of whole and half step intervals to sound like a proper major scale, right? Now we know what the definition or fingerprint is of a major scale. And now we can project this on any major scale starting on any root note. Let's see what it means for instance, the D major scale. Let's find out what the configuration is of this scale on half and whole step intervals. So let's play the notes from one note D to the other note D and find out what the order is of the whole and half step intervals. And immediately we'll see that something is wrong. We'll need to correct some notes. Namely, the F should be an F sharp and C should be C sharp. By raising those two notes, F and C, to F sharp and C sharp, we have created a proper sounding major scale. It's exactly the same as the C major scale, only starting one note higher on the note D, D major. The conclusion. The D major scale needs two raised notes in order to meet the requirements of a major scale. Let's do one more and take a look at the E major scale. Let's see what the order is of the whole and half step intervals when we play the scale from one note E to the other note E over one string. And obviously it's a mess. We need to have some serious corrections to get this scale sounding like a proper E major scale. So let's move some of these notes up to where they belong. And as you can see now, we have a proper E major scale. Conclusion. The E major scale needs 4 raised notes in order to meet the requirements of a major scale and sound like a proper E major scale. Our last example is the F major scale, which needs a flattened note instead of a raised note. Let's look at this scale when we play it on one string with no corrections whatsoever. We can see that something is wrong and we need to correct one note. The fourth note, the B, should be lowered to the B flat in order to let this scale meet the requirements of a major scale and sound like a proper major scale. The conclusion is that the F major scale needs one flattened note, the B should be lowered to the B flat in order to let the scale sound like a normal major scale. So now maybe you're thinking, how many keys are there? Maybe you'd expect 7 keys because there are 7 notes. C, D, A, C, D, E, F, G, A and B. But if we take a closer look at the neck of the guitar, we'll see 12 frets in between one note C to the other note C. 12 frets represent 12 notes. 12 notes represent 12 keys. So there are no less than 12 keys. Aside from this, a sequence of consecutive half-step intervals is called a chromatic scale. Just knowledge for fun. Anyways, how can we remember and learn all those keys by heart? It seems almost impossible. Fortunately, we can put all the keys in a straightforward and learnable system. This system is called the circle of fifths or the circle of fourths. Before I'm going to show you the circle of fifths, I first want you to know how to find the keys on the neck of the guitar with a little trick. And for that you need to know what a fifth interval is. Now, when you've played rock or metal, you've played fifth intervals a million times because the power chord is a fifth interval. Power chord like C, G, power chord. All those chords which you played often are fifth intervals. A fifth interval is also the distance between the first note of a major scale to the fifth note of a major scale. So C, G, of course. C, 1, D, 2, E, 3, F, 4, G, 5, the fifth. So when we start at the note C, which is the root of the C major scale, or C major key if you want, we could move up in fifth intervals and fifths to each next key. Each next key has one extra sharp, one extra raised note. So the order of keys based on the amount of sharps would be C major, no sharps, G major, 1 sharp, D major, 2 sharps, A major, 3 sharps, E major, 4 sharps, B major, 5 sharps, F sharp major, 6 sharps, C sharp major, 7 sharps. The distances between those roots are all fifths, fifth intervals. So what we did on the guitar neck, moving in fifth intervals from the root C like this, we could put in a visual system called the circle of fifths. It represents all the keys in distances of fifth intervals with information about the amount of sharps for each key. Now, this system in combination with our guitar mnemonic, we could easily learn the whole system of keys by heart. As you can see, there are only 8 keys in our circle of fifths. And also on the guitar neck we found only 8 keys. C, G, D, A, E major, B major, F sharp major and C sharp major. Now I told you there were 12 keys because there are 12 frets between one note C to the other. And those 12 frets are 12 notes, 12 keys. So now we're going to find out about our missing keys. The keys we dealt with until now were keys that needed sharps to sound like a proper major scale. Now we're going to see the keys that need flattened notes to sound like a major scale. And for that we're going to move up in fourths instead of fifths. There's not much difference between the two because a fourth interval is a fifth interval upside down. So when the fifth interval is C, G, the fourth interval would be G, C, fifth, fourth. While moving up in fourth intervals, we'll discover the keys with flattened notes. The order will be F major, B flat major, E flat major, and A flat major. The distances between the root of these keys are all fourth intervals. We could do our little trick on the neck of the guitar, our mnemonic, for these keys too. We travel in fourth intervals instead of fifth intervals, like this. C major, F major, B flat major, E flat major, and A flat major. All in fourths, fourth interval, fourth interval, fourth interval, fourth interval. So now let's put the keys with flats also in the circle of fifths, on the opposite side of the C major key. You can see it's a quite logical system and easy to learn, especially with our guitar neck mnemonic aid. Like this. Moving up in fourths, or moving up in fifths for the keys with sharps. So now we're going to put everything together. The keys with flats, the keys with sharps, all in one system, the circle of fifths. On top of the circle of fifths we find the C major scale, the mother of all scales. On the right side we'll find all the keys with sharpened notes. Each fifth up there's a new key with an extra sharp note. On the left side we'll find the keys with flattened notes. Each fourth up there's a new key with an extra flattened note. So far we unraveled quite a bit about the secret of the keys. In the next part we're going to find out and discover how the minor keys are organized and how they are connected to the major keys, because they are. And we will find out how the chords are organized in the major and minor keys. Then we can put all newly gained knowledge to practice.